Welcome back, Sim Racers. Season 3 is here. Whoop whoop. Thank you, iRacing. And we've got new cars, one of which is the Ford GT3 Mustang. On first look, this thing looks beautiful. With the Ford paint scheme and decal kit, I reckon it looks beautiful. Interested to see what you think. Anyway, let's dive into some stats. Then we'll take it out on track and compare it against a couple of the other GT3s and see how it feels. Let's get to it. Oh my god, that V8 sounds good. Let's try really going the anchors deep here. The Ford Mustang GT3 is here, and these are some of the stats. It's powered by the Ford Coyote 5.4 litre V8. Since it was based off the production race car, it's probably not too much of a surprise. This was in the GDP Pro class for Ford's factory in the IMSA program, so it'll be built to align with that. Just for brakes, we'll go over the 6 pots on the front, 4 pots on the rear, 18-inch wheels. It's got a dry sump oiling system, carbon prop shaft. It's all going to be pretty standard, but I don't know. What do you guys think? I think it's going to be awesome to have, you know, a big American V8 out there with all the Euro cars. I think this thing looks awesome. This rear diffuser is huge. I mean, that's going to be sucking this car down. As you guys know, I generally drive the Porsche, so I'm really interested to see how this is going to carry across, obviously being a front engine compared to the rear engine. I'm expecting some differences. Let's get out in car, put this around the track, and see what we can do. We are in car in the Mustang. I'm not going to lie. Off the bat, I just actually checked myself with the graphic adjustments for the driver height at 0, and I normally only sit between 0 and +1, depending on the car. This is low. That field of view, I feel like in my particular setup on triple 32s, and I do film this as a wide aspect, so for you to give you an idea, where my cursor is on the left-hand screen is about 4 or 5 inches into my left screen, and my cursor over here on the right is about the same across my right screen. This dash line feels horrendously high. I can imagine that that's probably going to cause some problems. I feel like you're going to want to be, off the bat, probably 2 centimeters high. And I reckon we'll run that at about 8.3 on the force feedback. Let's give that a go, and look, to give you an idea, we're at 172 degrees field of view, once again across 3 screens. You're seeing a wide angle version of that. Yeah, it's not a bad dash setup. We've got tire pressures. Do we have traction control, ABS settings? I'm not actually getting any brake bias. I did read this in some notes somewhere that the brake bias potentially was a little bit funny in this car with displaying, and I know my keys are mapped correctly, but the brake bias isn't coming across. Look, not a war stopper. We're here to see what it's like when we drive it. Now, I don't know about you, but off the bat, that sounds absolutely incredible. I'm just going to pin it down to this first corner and we'll talk some more. Have a listen. Ooh. And, oh, okay, brakes are strong. Look at that. Around the corner, I'm losing sight through the apex. That's crazy. Oh, that V8, geez. Doesn't have a rev counter, but God, that must be revving high. That sounds incredible. And oh, the anchors on it are good. That's interesting. All right, so slow speed cornering. I'm noticing straight off that the nose really tips in. When you're slow there into those provided you get off the brakes, that just effortlessly tips in. I feel like with the Porsche, that you've really got to use your brakes and grab curb to get it to turn. What's interesting too, I'm noticing the sound on the brakes. So there's a really nice squeak there, saying that they're still cold. I'll give it a big boot of brakes into this next corner, and I'll turn the volume up for you, and just have a listen. I suspect that they've played with the audio for the brakes. Are we ready? Have a listen to this. It's very like sandpapery. It sounds like carbon ceramics. It's a real like, sandpaper noise. It'd be interesting to see if it does that all the way through as they warm up. They do. That's oddly satisfying. So yeah, through here on apex, the nose really tips in. That's impressive. Alright, I think my steering weights... God, that V8 roars. Steering weights are good at about 8.5. God, the brakes are strong. It really tips in. That there, I struggle to get the Porsche around there, albeit I'm not pushing too hard just yet. It's amazing how light the front end feels on this. Interesting to see what it feels like as we start to push a little bit. Let's just get a little bit of temp up through the next corners, couple of corners. Oh, that noise though. Okay, so you can feel the tail move around on it. It's not too bad. Like, very easy to feel it. I don't think it's going to be too terrible to catch. I'm saying this early in the piece. Oh my God, that V8 sounds good. Let's try really going the anchors deep here. Still in. Could have brought more speed in. I'm able to get on the power quite heavily coming out of there too without any issues on the back end. We are running traction control 4, ABS 4. That's just the standard settings. Alright, pushing on the brakes a little harder. You definitely get a lot of understeer if you're asking too much of the brakes and try to tip it. But it feels very planted. I'm gonna say, a little short shift, doesn't feel as twitchy compared to the Porsche. So I don't mind catching it there. I mean, you've definitely got to be quick on the catch, but I feel like you can feel that tail move. When you get on brakes with a little bit more speed, what I'm noticing is I can feel the front want to, like, float. It definitely, I don't think at higher speed, with, yeah, like that, like with a, all right, that's interesting. So with higher speed and an aggressive trail brake, the front gets a little loose, followed by a rear snap. Once again, comparing this pretty heavily to the Porsche, where I feel like I can drive through the Porsche on something like that. That turn in on apex and slow speed though is beautiful. This would be a car on a lower speed circuit I'd be really interested to drive. Let's go nice and heavy. Little slide all the way through there. Yeah, so I'm finding I don't quite have the confidence on the front end. But I suppose that'll just come with time. Oh, I mean, you come through those corners completely blind. Yeah, so even just there, once you're up around the 150k mark, if you really trail brake, I find it a little hard to control the front followed by the rear snap. We'll try again here. We'll try and... So the trail braking really coming on and off brakes seems to really unsettle it. But straight line braking, slow speed mid-corner feels super strong. So I pretty much just went full throttle then on them coming out, and you saw a tiny little tail snap, but I kept my foot planted. Albeit traction control came in. Not too bad. Even the downshifts are really nice. It feels very stable under downshift. The front end weighting though, beautiful. Let's try to get some real good power down here. We'll grab a heap of grass and curb, little snap, so pushing hard. No. Tell you what, first spin, not too bad. I'll talk you through the rest of this lap. Let's see what it's... and then I'll bring you back on for a flying lap and see if I can get near a Porsche time. And then we'll talk a little bit about it then. Here we go for the flying lap across the line, and we're on Delta for this one. We're going to trail brake in and try get the car tipped cleanly. Full boot of throttle to drive it out of the corner using all of the track. Now just letting that V8 scream all the way down to our braking marker. Oh, the downshift sounds good. A little bit of throttle to settle the car. Back into full power. Tiny bit of tail slide there, but not too bad at all. God, this thing sounds good. So good. All the way out to the blue light and braking. That's about as heavy as I'd want to be there on the brakes. I could feel the ABS starting to kick in quite heavy. Give us a little bit of pushback. Let's go for a nice big grab a curb. Oh, you barely feel the curb compared to the Porsche. Gives you a lot of confidence over curbs. A little bit of a tail slide there. The car unweights down the hill using all the road. Oh, I can't believe how smooth that was over the curb. Well, a little bit of a tail slide again. Once again, gathering it all up. Oh, way too much of a tail slide there though. Flat through that back corner. And I did just manage to give some of that time back. A bit of an idea with pushing this thing for race pace. So we'll look quickly at the replay, and let's just have a look and see how the car moves around on track with those bumps. All right, we're having a look at the replay. Coming in for the flying lap in the Mustang. God, it even sounds good from this angle. Yeah, how's it looking? Not too bad. That nose looks responsive from here. All of the track. It'll be interesting to see through this back end of the track as we grab a bit of curb and move around a little more. On the brakes there. Now, I was heavy on the brakes there. I reckon that was about as much as I would have wanted to ask from them. I could feel ABS just starting to push through a little bit without giving up too much ground. As we know, if you get too hard on the brakes, ABS will push through a little and your braking distance will actually get longer. Does it move much when we get on the brakes? Geez, it looks stable, doesn't it? Looks very nice and stable. Right on the curb, hugging that line. Only just touching the curbs there. Look at that. Barely moved on that curb, didn't it? Incredibly smooth there. Just want to go back over that again. Let's have a look. Look at that. I know it's a low curb, but just look how this car barely moves on it. Very, very, like, it gives you a lot of faith in that. Little bit of a slide there over the hill all the way out, but easy to hang on to. Touch the grass there, I didn't even realise. A little bit of a slide there the whole way in. You can see there my little correction and drift back off, so I came off racing line and it was gatherable. Once again on curbs. I think that handles pretty damn well. Well, first impressions on the Mustang. Low speed mid-cornering, incredibly strong. Throttle from apex, very, very linear, very clean, very controlled. I like it. I really like it. Torque, I think, is pretty much spot on. just enough where you can keep it a little bit lower. It doesn't feel like you're giving too much away. At the same time, it's not over torque. If it gets too torquey, it gets a little bit hard to drive, obviously, because you need to be like super on point with throttle. That was with ABS, traction control, both at 4, so just standard settings. Brakes in a straight line, incredibly strong. So those 4 things, and the sound. Oh my God, the sound. That sounds beautiful. So there's 5 things that are super strong for this. The only 2 cons, I would say, you sit really, really low in there. You know, we're lucky enough to be in sim and be able to bump our driver height up a couple of centimeters. I'd say probably 1.5 to 2 centimeters. Do that. Should make a big difference to that visibility, especially on a track like this with a few undulating corners. You can be flying blind quite a lot. And the other one is high-speed trail braking seems to unsettle the car. As you trail brake on or off, the car wants to sort of pick and, I suppose, like dive and come off. Where once again, I find the Porsche, I can trail brake in and use that to settle the car, and when I get off the trail, I don't feel too much of a movement. In this, as soon as I get off that trail, the car wants to lurch back. And if you're not ready, I suppose with some practice you can get around it, but I do find you get a little bit of a snap, a little bit of a drift on the front followed by a snap on the back in that scenario. I think a low-speed, hard braking, tight cornered track, this would be a really strong contender. Something with a lot more high-speed corners where you need to trail brake in and keep a lot of mid-speed, mid-corner speed, I don't think it'd be quite as strong. That is my take on the Mustang GT3. I hope it helps you. Buy the car, support it, get out there, give it a go. It is great fun to drive, very well polished. The suspension and tyres and brakes, they all feel amazing. Like all cars, I suppose, they have their strong suits in there. Not so strong suits. Thanks for watching. See you for the next one. Bye.